Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Karina, Lesson 6, Part 3, on hoarding. Like, overstuffing yourself with stuff. To you perhaps, but do you really need a piano? Asked Karina. Not really. I used to play the piano when I was way small, and I thought that maybe I wanted to pick it up again. And it's such a great deal, I could not pass it up. Can you believe this piano is only worth 120 gold coins? Asked Letholdus. There must be a catch, said Karina. Maybe somebody was murdered on it, I don't care. Worst case scenario, the exorcist is a lot cheaper than paying for this piano at a wholesale price, explained Letholdus. Karina, shaking her head sadly, helped Letholdus put away the piano. Eventually, she caught up to the rest of the students and they were able to return home. Slowly, one by one, Karina sent them back by whacking them on the head with a skull. Letholdus was the last fellow. He said to Karina, before we return, I wanted to ask you the real reason why that fellow got exiled. Sure, why not, said Karina. For the last 2 decades or so, Marduke has been seeing that fellow arguing with people. Sure, he could have a normal conversation like a normal fellow, but the man has a way of making you feel that you are utterly insignificant. That in and of itself is no big deal, but last year he was like super mean to one of the apprentices. The fellow almost killed himself because of that jerk. Since Gail's little problem was starting to cause mental distress, his behavior was labeled a public humiliation, which is considered a type of torture, and since torture is now illegal in Veragerung, he got himself exiled. The neighborhood is much quieter now, and other people unfortunate to have dealt with him are quite happy and at peace with his absence. If there's one thing that my brother values more than anything, is peace and quiet. I see, but it is impossible to avoid any type of verbal confrontation forever, retorted Letholdus. Sure, but it is possible to try to avoid as much as possible. And there is a difference between conversing with a fellow and insulting a person to try to get them to behave in a way that is convenient for you, explained Karina. And Janos gives me something might get himself extra one of these days. Brother has already sent him a warning, and he will read it today as soon as he gets back. And to make certain of it, I wrote the cover of the letter, and I put my double stamp on it. Why double stamp? Asked Letholdus. Isn't one enough? Because it illustrates just how serious we are about something. In our home, we do a double step. Here is a double stamp. It shows that we will not go back on our word, said Karina. After saying this, Karina smacked Letholdus on the head with a skull. They were soon back at the classroom. Papi saw her rummage through their bags, but nothing had been stolen. He was just a bored little gossiper. He surmised that several of the fellows had diary. In the store, a lot of young fellows brought notebooks for diary purposes. Marduke had encouraged the fellows to write about their lives, and when the books were done, he would add their lives into the history books, if they did anything awe-inspiring. Some of the would-be soldiers had plenty of tall tales, inflating what they had supposedly done. Others had taken it a bit more serious approach to being historians. As far as Marduke was concerned, there was not a fellow alive whose story did not deserve to be told. And since there were not enough observers to cover the lives of all of the sweet, kind people of Veragerung, Marduke had offered them this chance to submit information about themselves. The judges with a strong truth curse would act as editors, removing any information that was not remotely tied to reality. Still, even when a person lies, there lies still plenty about the individual. If anything, lies are often more revealing than the truth. Karina returned home to find her brother playing with the baby. Sivano, the headmaster of the army's magic school, was also there as well. His face was like that of a gentle maiden, with silver blonde hair and honey-colored eyes. His former delicate figure had become more masculine thanks to the new training regimen. Beneath the tower of Lyra, they found a sleeper primordial elf. These elves might be what you would consider immortal. Whenever their bodies grow weak, they return to the soil and pop up every couple of millenniums. During the early days of Saturnastra, when the planet was young, 1,000 of them had been enlisted to spread the teachings of magic. Over the centuries, they wandered about and they died, quote-unquote. As such, it was impossible to know where they were all buried. There was also the possibility of some of them being cremated, and without any actual remains, there was nothing for these poor elves to respond from. As of now, there was about 5 known awake and intact primordial elves. These elves were Suberus, Ireron, Oberon, Basila, and Agrafina. The elf discovered in the Libra Tower was Agrafina. The name meant born with feet first, and indeed Agrafina was born. Agrafina was the most physical of the group. As such, she was running the magic user's ragged. She took the whole mind-body type of ideal thing to its most extreme proportions. As a result, it was easy to confuse a magic user with a well-trained army soldier these days. Time, bro?
9 minutes.
Sivano regarded Karina with his usual disdain. He was still a little bit uneasy when dealing with Marduke's others evening. Marduke's conversation with Sivano resumed as soon as Karina left the living room. She went to her window and she opened it to look down below. Outside was Letholdus yelling, "Karina!" "Wah!" yelled Karina in response. Letholdus threw a money bag at Karina, which struck her in the forehead. Frowning, she said, shaking her fist, "You jerk!" "Sorry," said Letholdus, starting to walk away. "You could have knocked, you know," said Karina. "I didn't want to intrude," said Letholdus. "Nonsense. Any student of mine is welcome any day," said Karina. "By you, perhaps," said Letholdus. "You doing anything later tonight?" asked Karina. "Nothing in particular. Just sorting through the inventory and all that nonsense. I still need to borrow that bag of yours for a little bit longer, though," said Letholdus. "It's fine. You can have it. Just don't let it fall into the wrong hands," said Karina. "It won't," said Letholdus, smiling. And so the day ended with Karina seeing Letholdus later on that night. They did nothing in particularly awe-inspiring, though the discerning observer noted an interesting change in Karina. Her sideburns had been coiled into a spiral. She would let her hair like this. Alright, that's the end of this lesson. Bye bye and God bless.